What's up guys, welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/MaliciousCompliance. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. This story's called, Just Do What You're Paid to Do, All Names Changed. When I was 18, I worked in a supermarket with a small garden center attached to it at the back. I started out on the checkouts, which was extremely boring, but I like money, so I did it. After about 3 months of working there, I came into work one day and they were very short-staffed in the garden center area. They asked for a volunteer, and wanting to avoid another day of monotonous beeps, I said I'd go. Turns out the garden center is an absolute blast. Basically, if they think you can't use a till, they send you to the garden center. The people who work there were the friendliest, chillest people I'd ever met. The manager, John, had previously owned a gardening business that had failed, and he knew everything there was to know about plants. He was a great manager, always looking out for his staff. He even turned a blind eye to us collecting the pound coins that had been left in the trolleys and spending them on booze after our shift ended. Garden Center also looked after trolley returns. I requested to be transferred to the garden center, and John spent the next 3 months basically showing me how to do his job. After that 3 months, John left and I applied for the job with his recommendation. At the last minute, they decided that garden center would be folded into checkouts, i.e. the checkout manager on the other side of the store would also be our manager. I was obviously annoyed, but whatever. I was only there for another few months anyway. The arrangement worked fine in the week when Alice was managing the checkouts. She basically just let us get on with it. I kept doing everything John had done, cashing up, inventory, etc. Then the weekend came along. Enter Karen. Karen perpetually looked like the ink wasn't dry on her second divorce. She hated everyone, it seemed, especially me. Every hour I had to go across the store because she was too lazy to come to me to give her a status update. I took great pleasure in being overly cheery and coming up with dumb stuff to say when I gave those reports. We sold 5 spruces. Guess we'll be able to keep the lights on, eh, Karen? Who do I speak to about my bonus? After a few weeks of this, Karen was at fever pitch. So when she waddled over to the garden center, very unusual for her, I was looking forward to seeing what was coming. There's been a customer complaint about the gents' toilet. You need to go clean it. Technically, our contract says that we have to clean any area of the store. But this is usually just the occasional cleaning of counters or sweeping, as we have a dedicated cleaning team. I'd never heard of anyone but a cleaner cleaning the toilet. Okay, I'll ask cleaner to get right on it. I've got some admin stuff to do, I said, knowing what was coming next. No, it's in your contract. You're not paid for doing admin, just do what you're paid for. As I wandered over to the gents, I wondered how long she'd been planning this, and a plan started forming in my head. I spotted one of the cleaners and asked him to go look at the gents, which of course he did. Now for the first part of my plan. See, usually at the end of the day, I would complete cash-up paperwork. The garden center had a till for customers to pay for garden center stuff. Anyway, I leave it in the folder for the general manager to collect on Monday, as he didn't work on weekends. But I wasn't paid to do admin, so I just didn't. Of course, Karen didn't check if it was done, so I just closed up and left for the day. Sunday comes around and I do the same. On Sunday, we also took a select inventory, but that sounds a lot like admin to me, so I didn't do it. Of course, she couldn't be bothered to check it. About 10 a.m. on Monday, I'm called up to the general manager's office. Karen is there looking furious, as well as general manager, who we'll call Del Boy because he reminded me of him. Hey, why wasn't a cash or inventory done this weekend? Well, Karen told me I wasn't paid to do admin. It's her responsibility to do those things since John left. I've been doing it as a favor, but she told me not to do it, so I didn't. Is this true? At this point, Karen is looking white. Not filling out cash paperwork can lead to dismissal. No, that's not what I meant. I just said that you shouldn't do admin. Del Boy says to me, thanks. You can go now. A few weeks later, Alice told me that Karen had only been on secondment as weekend manager, and after this incident, she was taken off secondment and sent back to the checkout. She was replaced by Bill, who was grumpy as all hell, but let us get on with stuff without getting in our way. I left shortly after, but I went back to visit my parents recently and popped in. She was still on the checkout. grumbling to a customer about someone. I went to a different checkout. I bet you Karen feels real stupid now because she had a good gig. Manager pay without manager responsibilities? And all she had to do was not ask someone to clean a bathroom when it wasn't really his job to do that? Good job, Karen. This story's called The Tale of Debbie. I had an overnight stay in my local hospital and met some absolutely lovely nurses. Their kindness inspired me to tell the tale of Debbie. I can't in good conscience call Debbie a nurse, because nurses have souls. So we shall just call her Debbie. 4 things are relevant to this particular malicious compliance. I have dentures. I have had a vertical sleeve gastrectomy, which is the surgical removal of 80% of stomach. I am unable to drink plain water, hot or cold. And mental hospitals are not places where mentally well people stay. So the scene is, I'm in a hospital for an unscheduled psych admission. This means I'm not armed with my usual bottle of sugar-free cordial and other little comforts that I would normally bring with me. Not having my things makes me uncomfortable. Psych wards can be very bleak, and Debbie and I had a minor run-in prior to this tale. When I asked for a pencil sharpener so I could sharpen the colored pencils in the day room, I had been told to go and find something to do. I chose to draw. All of the pencils were broken, but giving me a sharpener, or sharpening them herself, was me just being picky. It is lunchtime, and we are all served our trays. I ate what I wanted from the plates, ate the custard, had a cordial, and put my tray away and moved on with my day. Debbie apparently reviewed the trays and discovered that mine was not eaten. She decides I am being a pain in the booty, so from that meal on, I was swapped to a puree diet. Because dentures, with a jug of water. Because hydration. It's dinner time, I come in, not suspecting a thing, and I get a special tray. My special tray comes with a disapproving nurse. Disapproving nurse and I go to a table in the corner. I'm confused and ask, what the hell? You haven't been eating properly. You need to eat everything on your plate. It's all pureed to make it easier for you. And drink this jug of water. Then you can go. Okay, this is a full meal. I'm not going to be able to finish it. You have to finish everything on the plate and the jug of water. I picked up the utensils. I gave it my best go. That's it. Keep going. I'm full. I can't eat anymore. You barely eaten anything. There's still half a plate to go. I've had a sleeve gastrectomy. I can't fit this much food in it. I started to get distressed here. Debbie marches over and loudly informs the dining room that I need to eat my entire dinner and drink the jug of water. And I'll stay there until I do. I gave up on the food and point out that I don't drink plain water, but I could manage a cup of cordial. Hospital things happened and all the nurses, and probably Debbie, have things they need to be doing. So dinner wasn't enforced. But it's breakfast time. Cornflakes and bread and butter go to the other inmates. I get pureed food and a jug of water. Come on, let's just eat it up. I cannot eat this much food. Just go, eat what you can. I eat until I am physically unable to eat anymore, hoping that will satisfy Debbie's need for torture. Disapproving nurse pours a cup of water out of the jug and places it in front of me. I can't drink plain— Of course you can. Everyone drinks plain water. You have to drink this water. Debbie has said you are not having any more cordial. Only water. I have had it. The water thing usually gets under the skin of a nurse or two each admission, but the absolute disregard for the fact I cannot fit a full meal in my stomach, much less an entire jug of water in one sitting, the only solution was unpleasant and painful. Malicious compliance. I forced the first cup down over about 10 minutes. I hate it. It makes me retch. I state several times that I'm feeling sick. Disapproving nurse pours a second. I force it down. We are about 45 minutes past everyone else leaving the room at this point. Third cup. I am feeling sick. It takes 2 sips for a fountain of puke to come pouring out. It was the urgent kind, the gotta clear your stomach out right now kind of vomit. It was truly unpleasant to do. My stomach hurt and my throat hurt, and afterwards I collapsed into a chair, a sweating, shaking, crying mess. Disapproving nurse summons Debbie. Unfortunately, my loud display has attracted attention of some of the more sane nurses. Debbie is livid, but I'm taken away by 2 good nurses who help clean me up, calm me down, etc. These sweethearts even ensured to leave a jug of weak cordial by the bed so I could slowly rehydrate. I wish I could say that Debbie got summoned before the powers that be and struck down for her cruelty. But instead, the other nurses decided that they were not helping with cleanup duty. Vomit is a bodily fluid, and there was a lot of it. One of the inmates told me lunch was served in the day room. I hope she enjoyed cleaning the result of her nastiness. Okay, stories like these really terrify me because this sort of stuff isn't that uncommon, as I'm sure some of you in the comments can confirm. Especially with mental health institutions, sometimes the inmates don't get taken seriously because, I don't know, they're maybe seen as delusional. I've heard way too many stories about this sort of thing, and that's really scary. But you know what? Sucks this woman had to vomit so much because, I've had vomiting fits several times to where your body just doesn't stop puking. Oh my god, it's horrible. But yep, good on her for making Debbie clean up her own mess, because that was Debbie's mess. This story's called, Deny My Request to Move from Hourly to Salary? Then Dump All This Extra Work on Me? Cool, thanks for the extra paycheck. Years ago, I worked as the sole hourly employee on a team with salaried workers. This designation had been a mistake on my initial contract, and my cool boss said she would switch me to salary just as soon as my first-year contract was up. Unfortunately for me, just before my anniversary, my cool boss left and a benchy coworker got promoted. Request denied. No reason given other than, I don't think it's necessary. A few weeks later, we had this event that had been planned by cool boss. But since she left the company, it fell to my new benchy boss and the rest of us workers to staff it. The location for this event was nearly an hour away from the office. Everyone else could just show up to the location, but being hourly, I had to first go to the office, clock in, then drive an hour. Oh well, I guess I get paid for the travel time. The night before the event, we had hired a set building team to put everything together, but someone from our company had to stay until they were finished, per contract with the location. Benchy boss decided to make me stay as I was her least favorite, so the rest of the team left and went home. Well, there were major issues with the set, and by 10 p.m., it was just me and the one set builder left in the place, as he was trying to make things work. Set builder didn't care as he was making a ton of overtime. And besides, this particular configuration had been 100% his idea, so he was determined to solve it. I decided I didn't care because I had found some cushions to sleep on. I ended up dozing from about 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. when he finally finished and we could leave. I then drove an hour to the office, clocked out, and went home, which was thankfully a short drive. I had an hour to shower, change, and go back to the office to clock in. Then drive an hour to meet everyone back at the location at 8 a.m. We then worked the event with benchy boss again assigning me to stay later than her to supervise breakdown. So in a 36-hour window, I ended up being on the clock for 33 of those hours. Monday morning, benchy boss has to approve and submit payroll, and only then does she realize that she has to pay me time and a half for those 33 hours. She actually had the gall to be mad at me for not warning her about all the overtime, which made me laugh as I explained, I didn't think it was necessary since it was your idea to keep me hourly, boss. I love how all of these stories where someone leaves their old job, because the job sucked basically, and the entire company just collapses in on itself because the one person left. I don't know, it just goes to show you really need to appreciate the good workers, This story is called Business Launched to Spite Real Estate. I lived in a really horrid place that had an equally horrid property management team. I say team because they changed project managers whenever there was a problem. Nothing was ever done, and in the end, there is a massive report against them with several relevant authorities for their misconduct. But to the malicious compliance in question, property manager told me I had to have the carpets professionally cleaned. Wasn't in the contract, or I would lose my $800 bond when I moved out. After some back and forth, explaining I had used a professional carpet cleaning machine and was well experienced in doing vacate cleans, she insisted it must be an accredited carpet cleaner and that she would wait for an official receipt that had their ABN on it before approving the return for bond. I did some research and found out I could become an accredited carpet cleaner as there are no official licensing boards in my state. So I did what any sane person would do. I paid the $85, did the online course and got my certificate, registered a business name, ABN, etc., etc. All free via a government program I was in at the time. Handed the property management a copy of my accreditation and an invoice for services. I became a professional carpet cleaner and have since properly launched a vacate cleaning business that is still going 6 months later. That's some dedication right there. This man started a whole career because he didn't want to hire someone else. That's the American dream. In Australia, I guess. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.